The email came late at night, an innocuous notification from a cloud-sharing service. My name was on it, but the subject line was strange. Celine and Adrian's big day ring. My pulse quickened, and I clicked on the link. The first photo loaded, and my stomach dropped. Celine stood barefoot on a pristine beach, wearing a flowing white gown, her hair cascading in perfect curls. Her face glowed with joy as she leaned into a man I'd never seen before. He was holding her hand, both of them laughing as the sun set behind them. I couldn't look away. Picture after picture filled my screen, them exchanging rings, holding each other under a floral arch, dancing under twinkling lights. It wasn't just a wedding, it was a romantic fantasy, meticulously planned and captured. But it wasn't her sister's wedding, as she claimed last month. It was hers. I stared at the screen, my mind racing. My hand trembled as I reached for my phone and called her. It rang once, twice, before she picked up, her voice casual and warm. "Hey, love," Celine said. "What's up?" "It's late." "Celine," I began, my voice tighter than I intended. "I just got an email." "From you." Her tone shifted instantly. "What do you mean?" "It's a photo album," I said, my voice cold. "Of you. At your wedding." The silence on the other end was deafening. Finally, she let out a shaky laugh. "Oh, that must have been from my sister's wedding. I was helping her organize the photos. You know how tech-challenged she is." I leaned forward, my heart pounding. "Really? Because these pictures don't look like you're helping. They look like you're the bride." Her laughter stopped. "Dante," she said sharply, "you're overthinking. Those are her photos, not mine." My jaw tightened. "Then why is your name in the subject line? Why does the groom keep looking at you like he's in love? And why is the groom not me?" There was a long pause before she spoke again, her voice trembling now. "Look, I'll explain everything, but not over the phone. Let's talk in person." "No, Celine," I snapped. "You're going to explain it now. What is this?" "I can't," she whispered. "Not like this." "Then I'll make it simple for you," I said, my voice cold. "If you don't come clean right now, don't bother coming back at all." The call disconnected without a word, leaving me alone with the photos and the truth staring me in the face. The next morning, I woke to a flood of texts from Celine. Each one was a weak attempt to patch together the crumbling facade she'd been holding up. "Dante, please, let's talk in person. I can explain everything. It's not what you think. You're jumping to conclusions. I swear I was going to tell you, but I didn't know how." Each message only made my stomach churn more. I ignored them all. Around noon, she showed up at my door, a nervous energy radiating off her as she knocked lightly. When I opened it, she was standing there, clutching her purse tightly, her face pale. "Can I come in?" she asked softly. I stepped aside, arms crossed, and let her in. She perched on the edge of the couch like a child caught red-handed, avoiding my gaze. I stayed standing, looming over her, waiting for her to speak. "Dante," she began, her voice shaking, "I need you to understand something. Those photos, they're from a part of my life I thought I'd left behind." I raised an eyebrow, my patience wearing thin. "A part of your life where you married someone else. Care to elaborate?" She winced at my tone, tears pooling in her eyes. "It's not like that," she said quickly. "Adrian and I, we were young. We rushed into things. It was impulsive, and it didn't last." "Impulsive?" I repeated, my voice laced with disbelief. "Celine, that wedding looked anything but impulsive. You're telling me you planned a full-blown ceremony, exchanged vows, and had a honeymoon all on a whim?" Her face flushed, and she twisted her hands in her lap. "We thought we were in love," she admitted, "but it didn't work out. We separated after a year. We've been divorced for 2. And yet," I said, my anger barely contained, "you never thought to tell me? We've been together for over a year, Celine. Did you think this little detail wouldn't matter? I didn't know how to bring it up," she said, her voice breaking. "I didn't want you to think less of me. I didn't want you to question. Question what?" I interrupted. "Your integrity? Your honesty? Too late for that." Tears spilled down her cheeks as she stood, trying to close the distance between us. "Dante, please," she said, her hands reaching for mine. "It was a mistake, and I moved on. I'm with you now. That's what matters." I stepped back, her touch feeling like betrayal itself. "You're with me," I said bitterly. "Then why are you still holding on to those pictures? Why would you even share them with anyone, let alone send them to me?" "It was an accident," she cried. "I didn't mean for you to see them." "But you still have them," I said, my voice cold. "You still cherish them enough to keep them organized in an album. Don't stand there and tell me you've moved on." Her silence was louder than any argument she could have made. I shook my head, the realization settling like a stone in my chest. "You didn't just lie to me, Celine," I said quietly. "You lied to yourself. And now I don't know if I can trust anything about you." Her sobs filled the room, but I turned away, the weight of her deception pressing down harder with every passing second. Her sobs filled the room, but they didn't soften the weight pressing on my chest. I stood by the window, staring out at the street, trying to process everything she just said, or rather, everything she hadn't said. Celine remained on the couch, her tears falling silently now, her hands gripping the edge of the cushion like it was the only thing grounding her. "Dante," she said finally, her voice hoarse, "I didn't mean for it to get this far. I didn't mean to hurt you." I turned to face her, my jaw clenched. "You didn't mean for me to find out, Celine. That's the truth, isn't it? If it weren't for that email, you'd still be sitting here, pretending none of this ever happened." She flinched but didn't argue. That silence spoke volumes. "You lied to me," I continued, my voice rising. "Not just once, but every single day you hid this. Every time I asked about your past, every time you told me there was nothing to talk about, you lied." Her lip trembled, and she looked down at her hands. "I was scared," she said. "Scared you'd see me differently. Scared you'd leave. You don't get to play the victim here." I snapped, stepping closer. "You made a choice, Celine. Over and over again, you chose to hide this from me. That's not fear. That's selfishness." Tears spilled over her cheeks, but she still didn't meet my eyes. "I love you," she whispered. "I do." I laughed bitterly, the sound hollow in the tense air. "Love? If this is love, I don't want any part of it." Her head shot up, her eyes wide with panic. "Dante, no," she said, standing. "Please don't say that. Don't throw everything away over a mistake." "A mistake?" I repeated, my anger boiling over. "This wasn't a mistake, Celine. A mistake is spilling coffee or forgetting a birthday. What you did, this was calculated. You knew exactly what you were doing when you kept this from me." She reached for me, but I stepped back, her touch like poison. "Please," she begged, her voice breaking. "I'll delete the photos. I'll block Adrian. Whatever it takes, I'll do it." "It's not about the photos," I said, my voice heavy with finality. "It's about trust. And you destroyed it." Her sobs grew louder, but I was done. I walked to the closet, grabbed her coat, and handed it to her. "You need to go," I said firmly. Her eyes widened, disbelief etched across her face. "Go?" she repeated. "You're kicking me out?" Yes, I said, meeting her gaze without flinching, because this isn't something I can forgive, and I don't think you'd respect me if I did. Her lips trembled as she took the coat, her hand shaking. I never stopped loving you, she whispered. That's the truth. I stared at her, the woman I thought I knew, and felt nothing but a hollow ache where love used to be. Then you should have acted like it, I said quietly. She stood there for a moment, as if hoping I'd change my mind, but I didn't. Finally, she turned and walked out, the door closing behind her with a soft click. The silence that followed was deafening, but it felt lighter than the weight of her lies. I sat down on the couch, staring at the space where she'd been, and let out a long breath. It wasn't relief, exactly, but it was the beginning of something. Something honest. I picked up my phone, deleted the email, and leaned back, finally letting the clarity of my decision settle in. Celine had chosen her secrets. I had chosen myself, and that was a choice I wouldn't regret.